Hey, this is Seth with In Demand Career. I show people how to get life-changing jobs in digital marketing with no previous experience or education. And that includes my very special guest today, Josh, who was working as a property tax appraiser and not happy with his job when he found my course. He hustled very hard and got his first agency job within just a few months, and then got a new job with a promotion and is now making $55,000 a year working in SEO. He works remotely. He does not have a college degree, and I'm very excited to share his story with you. Thanks for being here, Josh.
Hey, Seth, happy to be here. Thanks.
Awesome, man. So why don't you tell people just a little bit about your current job that you're doing right now?
Yeah, so my first week in, it's the longest or it's the largest company I've been a part of. It's like 2,000 employees. It's a SaaS company. They sell courses, online courses, and things like that. Machine learning, data analytics. Kind of a Udemy competitor. And yeah, I'm liking the first week so far. Haven't actually started the work. There's just lots of onboarding, which is pretty cool.
Okay, so you're in an onboarding process, and you're like we mentioned before. We're going to talk about your previous agency job because you did a complete career change, got an entry level job, leveled up within 3 months. But what is your current? What did they hire you for at this current job?
As an SEO analyst, so about 30% SEO work, and then analyzing all the data.
Cool. And this is interesting because, like we were talking about, you leveled up so quickly. What were you doing in your previous agency job before you went over to this new job that you just started?
Yeah, I got hired as an SEO specialist, and it was a lot of client facing, remote work still, but I would answer the Slack channel requests from the clients and do the on-site changes. But I would also be the point of contact, mostly for like the content team and Google Business Profile and those sorts of things.
Okay. And how was that? That was your first entry level job. In fact, we were going to do an interview about that job, but funny enough, you got another job so fast. Now we're talking about the new, both of these jobs. What was it like, at the first agency job? What was it like being able to work remotely compared to your previous career where it sounds like you're going house to house doing, appraisals of property tax.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly different. Being remote, having that flexibility is really cool. My girlfriend just graduated med school, and so we're trying to figure out, like, what if I get an in-person job? Like, how are we going to do this? And me having a remote job, right around the same time she got a residency, which is going to have us move to Montana, was really nice. And so there are a lot of freedoms in that, and just being able to work from home. But that does mean I had to try a little bit harder to set up routines to make sure I was getting like social time and that sort of thing outside. But for the most part, it's great.
So you said, you were a property tax appraiser. I'm sure most people don't actually know what that is. What did your job actually involve doing every day?
Yeah, on paper, I would value houses on a mass scale, which, spent about 40 minutes a house. But what I was doing was going house to house through the entire town, or, property to property rather. And I would show up, knock on the door, tell them what I got to do. They weren't really happy about it. And then I would measure their house and take photos. And that's how we would, part of what we do to value a house. And because it's property taxes, I was pretty often the enemy. And, the most I could really hope for was indifference. I've had quite a, dealing with dogs. You had a couple customers come out with guns and that kind of thing. They didn't point them at me, but it was still like implied that they're like, "What are you doing on my property?" kind of thing. So that
Wow.
was some of the day to day.
Dude, that is a very different work-life balance than sitting home at your computer working on accounts. And what city or state were you in?
Southeast Alaska.
Oh, wow. And this was in Alaska. So I'm sure you saw a lot of guns. And
Yeah.
people do not want, that's like got to be the worst place to do that job because that is, people in Alaska know it's like getting away from the civilization. Who the heck wants someone from the government coming into their house, right?
Yeah. It was a little. Yeah, and some of it was actually going to smaller islands where people were really trying to be away. No power and that kind of thing. Um, Fortunately, didn't have too many things, but there was always the concern that I was going to step in some kind of trap or something like that. So
Wow, like a bear trap. And wow, that's very unique. But what was your like daily day to day like when you came home after work, how did you feel? Was it tiring? Was it, did you enjoy the work?
it varied. I would say it was pretty isolating because there wasn't really too many people to talk to about it. I no one's going to be really sympathetic to the tax appraiser or anything like that. So it was, I bottled a lot of it up, and I'd say I was pretty exhausted by the end of the day. So
Yeah. Sounds very different from what you're doing now.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome, man. So as we mentioned, this is a big career change. And again, you're in, and how old are you for everybody watching?
36, turned 37 this week, actually. This coming week.
Well, happy early birthday. It sounds like
Thank
it's
you.
going to be a good one. So yeah, guys, a lot of my students are early 20s, just coming out of college, and we have a lot of career changers. So we're going to talk a little bit more. You've had a long career of different jobs, and you were able to jump into digital marketing with no experience and no degree. So, how did that happen? Now you said you're making 55K working remotely. You just started this new job. How did you go? How did you get this job having no previous experience?
Kind of a savings plan, like one of Dave Ramsey's savings plan, made up to 6 months. And I was like, all right, I really don't want to stick around at this job. Like now that I feel good financially, I want to find something else, and did a lot of introspection, read 48 Days to the Work You Love, those sorts of things. And then I moved down to Oregon 2 months before the pandemic to try some school out, try that out. Went for a 1-year certificate in CAD. And so I moved in with my girlfriend, was taking online courses, and then kind of figured, I was like, well, I'm going to need more school if I want to get the job title I want. And most of my experience has been working entry level jobs and then working my way up. Like, start entry level, become the manager or something like that. And so I figured I would do that again, because industrial design school, what I was thinking I would go for, was so expensive that I was like, I don't have that much money left to do this. Not a lot of time left to do this. And so I was going to try and make an associate's degree, kind of cherry pick some classes to make that work. And while going through YouTube, looking through what's the best kind of course to leverage myself into an entry level job in industrial design, which I was kind of only so on doing. I came across Shane Hummus's course reviews rather. And then he mentioned you at the end of one of his associate's degree programs. So I was like, I'll check that out, because, at some point I want to be a freelancer and be remote with whatever I do. And then going through that, I was like, wow, I'll need those skills if I'm going to, run my own business. I'm probably going to need to do marketing as well. So I thought about it some more and decided I didn't want to do school anymore. I was like, I don't know, a semester shy of a degree. I'm like, this is just a waste of money and time. And so I cut that out, started your course, just took it seriously, went for it. And as soon as I finished your course, I don't know, it was like a month or two that I got my first entry level job. And that was a white label agency, all remote, which was really cool. I got a lot of experience. It was a lot of work, kind of a lot of painful work. Like the last guy was saying, I think Andrew, he was, it's a lot of fast paced work, kind of painful, but I learned a lot. But I decided I didn't really want to stick around with that as much. And so I applied for the job I have now as the SEO analyst.
That's great, man. That's a really good summary of things. And I'm going to touch in, you hit on a lot of great points. So that's really interesting. Yeah, you were thinking of going to school. And I wanted to bring this up because we talked about it before. So you said you do not have a college degree, right?
No.
Was it like, being in college, trying to get, advance your career and studying in college for a couple of semesters?
Yeah, at first it was pretty cool, because it was something that I always felt like I was missing out on. Because it's kind of like, I'd have jobs that, I guess some jobs people assumed I had a degree, others people might assume I didn't have a degree, and I always felt like it was like this silent judgment going on. But I think that only really existed in me, because it's never really mattered. It's only come up like, I don't know, 5 times throughout my entire life. But being in school, it was fun learning, but to keep my scholarships, which required I have a full-time status and a certain class load, is always like 1 or 2 classes more than what would allow me to actually like digest the information in a way that was meaningful. And so just playing the game of college where you just take classes and get homework done, I could do that, but that felt like work. And so, what I really wanted to learn was the skills that would get me on the ground running as soon as my career started. And I knew I wasn't getting that from college. And so it felt like a waste of time overall.
Yeah. Well said, man. I mean, I think a lot of people can relate, and I've met so many people. I try to tell people, as myself being a college graduate, it's not a big deal. It doesn't, you don't wake up with like, a better life the next morning because you have to pay paper. But I understand FOMO, and I get it. It's like if you didn't go, you may think, oh, there's something lacking. And that's why I keep interviewing people like you and keep saying this on the channel for folks who haven't yet gone to college. You're not missing out, is the point. And like you said, it sounds like you already had a pretty good career up till this point without a degree, and now it's going to get even better. And like you pointed out, you said maybe you took some cool classes, maybe there was some interesting stuff, but the way it's set up, college is not set up in a very efficient way at all. You had to take extra classes that you're not interested in, that were taking away from your, brain, your brain capacity, your ability to focus, and you weren't learning the actual skills. And that's the thing I love about online learning in general, is that you don't, if you want to learn X, you learn X. You want to learn digital marketing, you learn digital marketing. You don't have to take 4 other classes on topics that don't interest you. And it sounds like, you knew what you want pretty clearly. And so correct me if I'm wrong, you dropped out like with just a semester left in your degree?
Yeah, it was like a semester and a half, and which sucks because Chat GPT like just came out. So that would have been really handy just to get through the classes, I think. Because at that point I wasn't learning and I didn't really mind just, getting the grades done, because that's what it felt like. Yeah, I would say FOMO and social stigma were pretty much the biggest factors for college, because once I actually took it, it's also nice having guided learning, but you can get that, I got that in your course. So it doesn't need to be expensive, to get guided learning.
And guys, I just say this, I'm glad you said that. In college, you do not get guided learning. Because obviously if you did, you might have stayed. But what I found
That's a good point, yeah,
is that you're in a class of like 30 people with a professor who's probably being either tenured or underpaid. And also you could be in a class led by a graduate student or a TA. These guys, depending on what you're studying, you're studying English class, you read some nice books that you could have bought for, $10 online. But in these professional type, degrees, even business, you're not getting like the type of like practical guidance that you would get in any type of mentorship or online course. And then I think it's really cool that you dropped out, because a lot of people get trapped by this thing called the sunk cost fallacy. I was rewatching Better Call Saul, and he described it really well. Bob Odenkirk. But it's just that this idea, gamblers do this. This is what people do with college. They get through 3 semesters and you realize it's a waste of money. And then what do? You finish because you feel like I already put so much time and money into it. I need to finish it. And now, there's different levels. I see people who are 2 years in and they're going to do another 2 years. And I'm like, dude, you're wasting 2 years of your life. But you were really, I think it's really awesome. You were so intense. You only had a semester left and you knew it wasn't worth finishing. And what you did is you took that energy that you would have wasted in another few months in college, and you turn that focus into the course. And that's really the benefit. It. What's that?
So that's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't want to waste any more time. So
you didn't want to waste any more time. And that's the benefit of not being sucked into the sunk cost fallacy, because you might say, oh, it's just 3 months, it's just 6 months, it's just a year. That is very valuable time. And you put all that energy into the course and getting the skills, and then you were able to get very fast results now. So it doesn't matter you finished or didn't finish the degree. So that's really admirable. I think that's fantastic. So why don't you tell people, a little more about, it sounds like you really hit the ground running. How did you go, from no experience in digital marketing to your first, say, job interview? How did you get hired at that first job?
Yeah. Well, taking your course, I think like you say that perfection equals poverty, I believe is the term. And I definitely started getting stuck up on the work and was like, I want to do this perfectly. I made my own website about budgeting. I'm like, I gave this all perfectly. And then I was like, let's just move it along. Like just get something out there, get it done. So it was easy for me to get stuck up on a lot of stuff and helping friends out. And I had a lot of experience from my friends letting me help them with their websites or just people that they knew. And, even went on Catch a Fire. And I think I made about like 6 SEO audits, the ones that Andrea has us do. So I made about 6 of those. And for my job interview, I was applying. I wasn't really hearing back. And so I had LinkedIn Premium and I started messaging the recruiters directly, or the people if they were hiring managers, not recruiters, because I thought a hiring manager might be able to do a little bit more. And I messaged them directly, told them I was like, hey, if I don't get hired for this position as an SEO specialist, I would be willing to be an assistant, because I knew I just wanted that experience for, some sort of assistant to an SEO. And that got his attention a little bit. he sent me some messages asking me how I would rate my skills. I told him what my weaknesses were and that kind of thing. And then he gave me a website to audit. And so it's like, do a 15-minute video audit of this website and the Google business. And I probably spent like 2.5 hours working on that a succinct 15 minutes. And, I made the audit that Andrea had us made. So I had that, went over the website, did a verbal walkover. And I think that practice of having like 6 or so SEO audits under my belt is really what spoke. And I think I ended up overselling myself because he definitely had higher expectations of me when I was working than I was just ready to do. I didn't know their processes, things like that, but that got me the job. So.
Man, it sounds like you overcrushed it.
Yeah, I think I did.
But that's fantastic. I mean, I think it speaks to your work ethic and your focus, and also again that it's like you didn't have to even do that much to get the attention of an SEO hiring manager. It's amazing. He's hiring for a job. You message him. We talk about this in the course now. I'm actually going to ask you more about that because we just started talking about this with Sophia. The process of connecting on LinkedIn. Because when I do these walkthrough videos, I always say that if there's 400 bad applicants for a job, this poor hiring manager is looking for someone like you. So he was happy to hear from you. Obviously.
Yeah, I didn't need to do as much as I did, I don't think. I think you're right about that. So.
But I know for anyone watching or my students, that doesn't mean that you should be hustling. You should be enthusiastic. I think you just wanted to do a really good job, and that vibe, that work ethic is why you leveled up so quickly. So what was it like then actually getting the job and doing it for a few months from again having never had a remote job and never worked in digital marketing?
Yeah, I wasn't sure it was real. I honestly thought it was a scam because he didn't really formally interview me. But then I later realized the company was growing so fast that it was easy to kind of get taken up in that. But doing the work was, it was very familiar. I would say the hardest part was learning the company's processes and figuring out what their expectations were because they were so busy. It just, it was easy to get some of that detail lost, but there were a lot of coworkers and people like that to reach out to. And I was able to piece a lot of it together, which was helpful. So, but there was a lot of self-advocating, I'd say, in kind of that chaos, but I learned a lot, but it was a lot of work. I had like 60 or 70 clients that I was expected, client accounts that I was expected to work on. And that gets pretty tough because everything was a priority, and which meant nothing was a priority, but trying to keep up with it was challenging, but I'm definitely grateful for that experience.
That's perfect, man. So I tell my students that is a great entry-level experience.
Yeah.
You want it to be like anything, it's like being a rookie. You're a basketball player, a baseball player, you're going to have your rookie season. And it's not supposed, could be, you could be a star, but it's not supposed to be easy. For a few months, I would never say if you're, once you have those 6 months experience, 3 months experience, you do what you did, which is you look somewhere else. So some agencies do overload their employees. And like I said, I've had students work at places like that, and I say, just use it for a few months and then move on. If you stay, you're going to burn out, and that's fine. That's what they're there for. You get to put that experience on your resume. I think it's interesting. You said it was kind of familiar, the work, and is that because you had done so many practice audits in the course?
Yeah, it's because of the knowledge in your course. It was none of it was unfamiliar. It was just, I think, the specifics, mostly business specifics like engineering. I had a lot of clients, and just learning more about each industry was challenging to try and figure out because they all have their own specific particularities, I guess. So yeah,
and that's actually, I tell you, when you have a smaller client load, it's a lot of fun actually to learn each client's specific, the nuances of each industry. With 60 clients, it's not fun. I totally get that. So I think you did the right thing by leveling up so quickly. But I also think you did the right thing, guys. If you're in the course, remember, this is why I keep saying just generate that experience. You've got to do the work. Some students come to me and they've applied for jobs and they're saying, oh, I didn't get, I'm having trouble. And I'm like, did you do the SEO audit? Someone like, oh, no. Well, and how many did you do? Did you do just one? And you can do just one and still get results. But I mean, I think the fact that you pushed to do more than one really, again, enhanced your appeal as a candidate, and your confidence too. I mean, you sound confident now. You sound like you're a person who's worked in the field for a while. So how did it go then that you touched on it before a little bit, but so now you're working at this agency, you have a remote job. But first of all, I wanted to ask you, like, were you happy working remote? Was that a new experience for you?
I think just because I was doing college before that, which was all remote, it was pretty familiar. It was nice to get paid for it though. So that did change something in me, which made it a little bit more motivating. Plus, I started an LLC partway through that just because I was working on so many, like from your course, like working on demo sites. I continued to work on other people's sites. By chance I had two microgreens clients, and I worked on both their websites, got them established, got them ranking, created Google business profiles for them, and I was like, okay, I feel kind of confident that I could be getting paid for this too. So I started an LLC, working on clients there still. I'm still in the beginning phase of that. So that's all remote as well. So I think that helped out, was just kind of focusing in on doing free work basically. But remote work is I like it.
Yes, I like it too. And so now you're saying you have paid clients on top of your current job, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's great, man. I can really see it. It's very clear to me that we're going to do one of these interviews in about a year. You're going to have really, I don't know what you're going to be doing, but it'll be very good. You will have advanced. You're
hopefully
already
earning more.
What's that?
Said hopefully earning more at that point.
Yeah. Dude, you're already, well, here's another thing before we get into the transition. How much were you making as a appraiser?
About 56,000 a year.
And how many years had you been doing that job?
6.
Okay, so, and now what are you making as an SEO analyst?
55,200.
Okay.
Plus perks, which is pretty nice.
Okay, so you're one of these people that you're so funny because you're kind of underplaying this. I'm like, you reached the same salary that at a job previous that took you 6 years to get to in a few months.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I hadn't actually thought about the time involved, but yeah. So.
Yeah, guys. I mean, this is the excitement of digital marketing. I had so many people, I interviewed those poor healthcare administrators who are working for 10 years, making 35,000, 40,000, it's making 56,000 after 6 years. That means he's in a career that he physically has to go to houses and he's not actually able to have any chance for advancement. Now he's in his second job making 55K. He just started. He's going to be at 60, 70, 80 very, very soon, which is more than he would have made. 6 years into digital marketing, you should be at 6 figures. There's no question. And I'm sure you will be. So that's another one of the things about changing into this career. Again, you start with an agency that might give you too much work. You start with a little bit of lower salary, 35, 40, 45K, but then you can level up. So again, into that, you're working at this first agency, it's remote. You're realizing, the workload may be a bit much. How did you go about getting into this new position?
Yeah, I just started the interview process over again, but this time having understood what was on the job application or all the job postings, kind of I understood the details a bit better because I saw what mine said and what I was doing. And so that kind of helped me focus on, kind of cherry pick what I thought I could do, what I wanted to do a bit better. I intended to stay there about 6 months to a year, kind of like you mentioned in your program, but I was like, I kind of want to go now, and I think I could do better. And so I just kept applying just as before, and the responses started coming in just as before. But I got a lot more responses this time. And I would say about 2 months in, I started actually having kind of recruiters start messaging me. I wasn't sure if they're scammy messages or not, but having just 3 months of experience and tailoring my resume just that much more, definitely I started getting more interviews, more responses, and that kind of thing.
That's awesome. You said it really well. And I think it's awesome that you said you could do better, because, I've had some students that stay at some of these jobs too long. And I actually am the one that has to be like, dude, move on. Well, you did that for yourself and you did it very quickly. And yeah, guys, 3 months experience. You can move up. So, and then how did it work with this particular job? Was it a recruiter? Was it a job you applied for? How did this specific job come about?
Yeah, I do want to say that there were probably about 4 of us from your program in the last agency, so that was kind of cool that we all kind of congregated that way. But
Oh, wait,
this
wait,
time,
wait. You said
oh,
that.
okay.
Who was there? What? I think I
I can't.
remember that. Who was there?
Well, I posted on your Facebook group for a Facebook job, Facebook ads, and somebody they didn't even respond in the group chat to it, but they apply, sent the email out and mentioned my name, and so I got like an extra $500 referral bonus, and I didn't know who that person was, but I don't remember his name. But then in SEO there was David, I can't remember his last name right now, and then Saul Bravo, who's doing technical SEO there.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna talk to those guys.
Yeah.
Saul was there. I'm looking. We have agency. Oh, okay. Yeah. That's awesome. I think that's, I love hearing that. Even if this agency sounds like, again, it sounds like those guys, they should be moving, leveraging their experience there to move on to other positions. But that's cool because I know these types of, agency, they're a great opportunity for people who come out of the course.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry, I cut you off. Tell us, how did this particular new job come about?
Yeah, no, I tangented there. So this current job, I applied for so many jobs that I liked, interviewed for so many. This one, through the interview process, I think I liked it the most, and so I was really happy to get that invite. But it started off with the recruiter messaging me, and then we did like a half hour. Well, it was probably like 10-minute interview actually. Just went over some basics, covered salary, a lot of Sophia, in her Zoom meetings she talks about. So a lot of those tips were handy. She told me, she asked me what price I would accept basically, and I was like, well, I at least want 55,000. So instead of answering, I asked her, I'm like, well, I assume it's a pre-approved position. Can I ask what the range is? She said the range, and I said perfect. And then, so I didn't give a number the first time, and then she sent 2, like a personality test and then kind of a cognitive test, and I'm not really a big fan of those, but I studied for it, and then took it, and then got an interview with my boss now, went through his interview process, and then they had me for a 3rd interview with some analysts, and then they called me back and offered me the job for the maximum range they were offering, which really surprised me. I thought I was going to have to haggle a little bit, but I didn't have to, so that was great.
That's awesome, man. That's fantastic. That's how you do it. And again, guys, yeah, once you get the ball rolling, you said everybody has their own unique path into where they get. So it's not, you've seen so many of these stories, but it's kind of there is a typical pattern, which say you generated your own experience, hustled, got your first entry level job, moved up, went through this process. And by the time you're interviewing at this job, you're so much more confident. And it sounds like, it was a really good fit. And, I think they're still getting a bargain with you. They're going to train you up, get you into their system, and you're going to provide a lot of value for them. You're going to help them make a lot more money. And then in a year from now, you'll either, or 6 months to a year, either get another raise if they want to keep you, or you'll move on to another place.
Yeah, this has been the best benefit package I think I've been a part of. So they listed that every year. It's going to be an 8% raise, so that'll put me at 60,000 pretty quickly. They sent me a computer and all the peripherals. I get $300 to set up my home office the way I want to, $50 gym membership kind of thing every month. And so there's a lot of pretty cool perks, and I get to take the classes for free too that they offer through their product. So I think it's pretty cool.
That is cool. And what's the PTO like?
It's unlimited, and they have these things called recharge weeks. So 2 of them, the whole company just takes 2 weeks off, like nobody's working. And then the other 2 are for like each department to kind of decide on, which is nothing of that I've ever really been a part of. So I think that's pretty cool.
That's amazing, especially in the US.
Yeah.
And how does everybody take 2 weeks off with clients to manage?
I think it's harder for the salespeople. I would imagine it's harder for the salespeople, but they have a skeleton crew working, and then those people do get, an offset time, by the time everyone else is back.
That's really interesting, man. I'm going to hear more about that. But generally, this speaks to the culture of digital marketing, which I love, because again, now there's more of a focus on mental health in the kind of pop culture now, which is great. But being in Asia and in Europe, I see, at least in Europe, I always say the salaries aren't quite as high, but they get 6 weeks off a year. It makes a huge difference, and when I was working at, my first 6-figure job, I was accruing my vacation days. So I literally had no vacation days. Or if I got sick, it would come out of my salary. And there's that culture in the US of just work, work, work. So I love these agencies where they prioritize PTO. And some of them I've heard people like you and other marketers often don't take PTO, even though it's there, just because you get into such a, you're so into the work. But I think it's cool the company has that policy. And yeah, when you add in those benefits with the salary, it sounds like a really great work-life balance. Plus, the flexibility of being remote. Awesome. And you were saying you're going to be moving, right? So the remote is even more beneficial.
Yeah. My girlfriend just graduated med school and got a residency in Montana. So, this is something we talked about beforehand. I was like, well, if I get a remote job, cool. But like, I guess I'll just have to break it off with whatever company I'm with, and then find another job. So it's nice to not really be bound by that. It's also hopeful because I kind of want to move back to Alaska at some point, and very small communities. And so having a job that wouldn't really otherwise exist there is pretty cool.
That's amazing. And also you're from Alaska, which is kind of unique. I mean, it's really like a unicorn in that sense. I don't know the odds of interviewing an Alaskan. There's not many. So where did you grow up in Alaska? I don't know the state that well, but were you in Anchorage or like a big city or in a small?
Smaller Southeast Alaska. There's this whole thing where you make the map, of Alaska. And so I was like right down here on the panhandle, probably closer to Seattle.
Oh, okay. So not like.
Well, no. Closer to British Columbia. So.
Oh, interesting. But still, I mean, is it like you have those dark months type thing?
Yeah. It gets pretty dark for a while. You go to work, it's dark. You leave work, it's dark, kind of thing.
So you like the cold? You like it up there?
I prefer the rain, honestly. Like,
Wow.
80-degree weather and up, it's just too much. So.
Wow. So different. I can't stand the rain, but I love the heat. I have friends like you. I have a buddy who like chases the winter, actually, like travels around like, he really loves the winter. And I had met a woman from Norway, and I was like trying to wrap my head around living in Norway, with also, again, the long, winters. But hey, guys, this is the beauty of digital marketing and a remote job. It's like, you want to live in Alaska, you can live in Alaska. That's actually really remarkable, man. I mean, and I'm joking about it, but I'm like, if you did live in Alaska, your local options are very limited. There's not much commerce up there. There aren't any big companies up there. But with a remote job, yeah, you can live, where you want to live, where you want to be with your girlfriend, or maybe is your family up there?
Yeah. Some of my family's still up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's great. You have that freedom to decide where you want to be. So awesome, man. Well, it sounds like you've had a real transformation, and you're just starting out on your journey. So I'm very happy for you. And I appreciate you sharing your story with us. Do you mind if people reach out to you with questions on LinkedIn?
I mean, they're more than happy to. If you want to like get through all the friend requests and that kind of thing, I would make a note and make sure to mention that you're in Seth's course or something like that. So.
Okay. And what about folks who are like thinking about the course?
Oh, definitely take it if you're thinking about it. What was it, like $800 or something like that? It wasn't a lot, especially compared to a lot of other things out there. I mean, a lot of the other things are like $3,000, but well worth it. Even if it's just something, if you just want to learn about marketing to improve your own, existing business. But I was definitely able to start a career off of it. So, 2 thumbs up.
I appreciate that. Yeah, man, I appreciate it. And I meant if people who haven't taken the course have any questions for you, which is kind of what happens with these interviews from time to time. Is it okay if they reach out to you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I had a few people reach out after I posted in the Facebook group about my initial. I shared the audit that I did and submitted to get my first job too. So I'm more than happy to help.
Awesome, man. I appreciate that. And everybody watching does too. And thank you for the, acknowledgement. I think you you said what I was going to ask you, because, people do ask about the price from time to time. If they do. Yeah. I mean, I get people messaging me who are about to spend $20,000 on a master's degree in digital marketing. And
Yeah.
I just don't know how to tell them, like, you're gonna, if you finish that program, you're gonna have debt and you're not learning. I got a message from somebody yesterday who is in the middle of a master's program. They're not teaching him in-depth Google ads. They're not teaching him how to manage accounts. They're not teaching him how to do SEO audits. It's all very basic stuff. And I see this again and again. So yeah, man, it's well said. I'm really happy that you got these results. And I'm excited to see where you go from here. I definitely want to interview you again in the future.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do it.
Awesome, man. Well, it was great chatting with you. Is there anything else you want to say to me or anyone else watching?
I guess one thing I want to point out is, like, in the agency that I got hired for, there were people getting hired that weren't even doing digital marketing. It was really just about who they knew, kind of a thing. And I talked to some of those people and they felt like they were behind, and I, pointed them at your course, but I guess I don't really know what I want to make of that, but I was surprised how many people were doing digital marketing almost by accident and felt like they didn't know a lot. Whereas I felt with your program, I had a course that was outlined for my career. Just you really lay the steps out. That are even ahead of me right now. So
awesome, man. And I think what you could take from that, I appreciate you bringing that up, because in my walkthrough videos, you hear me guys say it again and again, like, more than most people applying. And it's really what you're saying, is that you knew more from what you learned in the course and from the connections you made and from being able to talk to professionals like Sophia and Nick and the coaches. You already are so far ahead. And yeah, there will be people who get into the industry that aren't as good as you. So that's why I'm always saying apply and reach out to these hiring managers, because if you do the work in the course, you have more value than you realize.
Definitely.
So yeah, man, it's still very, your proof of this is still a very open field. There's still tons of opportunities, and everything, and it's awesome. And again, I'm excited to see where you go. So it was great chatting with you, Josh. Thanks.
Likewise.
And we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Seth.